Here's a question I get asked more than almost any other in my office. Dr. Emily, is there just one thing I could take that would actually help? And most of the time, my honest answer is, it depends. Your body is too specific for a one-size-fits-all type of answer. But there's one mineral that comes to mind that is a closer yes than almost anything else on the shelf. And it helps you sleep. It helps your muscles let go of tension. It helps your gut move the way, down, out of the way, if it's supposed to. But there's one mineral that comes closer to a yes than almost anything else on the shelf. It helps you sleep. It helps your muscles let go of any tension. It helps your gut move the way it's supposed to. It even plays a quiet, unglamorous role in how your body clears out your morning coffee and your monthly hormones. And that mineral is magnesium. Hi, I'm Dr. Emily Wheeler, and today I want to take you deep into one of the most underappreciated minerals in functional medicine. What it actually does, which form you should be reaching for and when, how I test for it, and a few ways to get more of it in your day that does not involve swallowing another capsule. So let's get into it. I want to tell you about a patient I'll call Allie, okay? Allie is in her mid-40s. She works in sales. She's sharp, funny, runs into coffee. She loves her coffee, okay? 2 cups before 9 a.m. normally is what she does. Most days, a third round lunch. So she's just ranking it in. She'll tell you herself she's always been a coffee person. But over the past year or so, something has shifted. The same 2 cups that she used to wake up with, it's starting to make her feel jittery all the time. Her heart would race a little bit. She'd feel edgy, irritable, like her nervous system was one notch just too tight all day. And her sleep, which used to be awesome and solid, had turned into waking up at 2 a.m. with her mind spinning. She also mentioned, almost as an afterthought, that her periods had become heavier and more predictable over the last year. She didn't think the 2 things were really related, and most people wouldn't. When we start digging into her history, a pattern really emerged. A chronic constipation pattern that she had for years, tight shoulders and a jaw that she was just clenching most of the night, so teeth grinding that she was having, a stressful, high-output job. She was a high performer. And coffee, the same coffee she'd been drinking for 20 years, suddenly is not agreeing with her anymore. Allie didn't need a caffeine detox. She needed a mineral her body quietly was running out of. So before we get into Allie's plan, I want to give you a little history because I think it makes magnesium easier to respect. So back in 1618, a farmer in a town called Epsom, England, dug a well for his cows. The cows took 1 sip and refused to drink. The water was bitter, but the farmer noticed something strange. When he washed a scrape, an injury, or a rash, a skin issue with that bitter water, it seemed to heal faster. Word spread, and people started traveling to Epsom, the town of Epsom, just to bathe in and drink from that well. That bitter mineral left behind when the water evaporated is exactly what we now know as Epsom salt, that magnesium sulfate. So the next time you choose to toss a scoop of Epsom salt into a nice warm bath after a long day, you're using the very same mineral that farmer stumbled onto in that well over 400 years ago. The same compound, the same soothing effect on the tight, tired muscles, but just a much prettier package. It would almost be a century later, in 1755, before a chemist named Josh Black figured out that this bitter salt in the water was actually a distinct mineral, magnesium. And it wasn't isolated in its pure metallic form until 1800 by a chemist named Humphrey Davy. So this mineral has a 300-year head start on modern science, and people were using it before they even understand what it was. That tells you something. This is not a trendy new supplement. It's one of the oldest, most well-established minerals in human medicine. We just took a while to fully understand how it works. Isn't that how it always is? So today, we know magnesium is a cofactor in over 300 different enzyme reactions in your body. 300. 100. That's not an exaggeration for effect. That's the actual number researchers use. It's involved in almost everything your body does to make energy, to calm down, to digest, and to repair. And this is where I want to slow down because I get asked about this all the time. Which magnesium should I actually buy? Which is right for my body? And here's the truth. The type of magnesium matters a lot because every supplement deserves a job, and different forms of magnesium are built for different jobs. So let's walk through some of the ones that I use most often in my practice. So let's talk about magnesium glycinate. Sometimes it's labeled bisglycinate. Looks like biglycinate, which is just the technical name for the same compound. It's magnesium bound to the amino acid glycine. This is my go-to for sleep, anxiety, muscle relaxation. It's well absorbed. It's gentle on the stomach, and glycine itself has a calming effect on the nervous system. So if someone tells me that they're wired at nighttime, they're tense, they're waking up at 2 with their mind racing, it's usually where I start. Okay. Magnesium malate pairs magnesium with malic acid, which plays a role in how your cells make energy. I tend to reach for this one during the day, especially for patients dealing with muscle soreness, fatigue, or fibromyalgia type symptoms. It's well tolerated and it's less likely to send you running to the bathroom, which we're going to get to. Magnesium threonate is the specialist of the group. It's the form most studied for crossing into the brain across the blood-brain barrier. So I think about it for cognitive support, prevention of Alzheimer's, brain fog, focus, memory concerns. It's also the most expensive, and it delivers less elemental magnesium per capsule than the others. So it's rarely my only source, as I recommend. I think of it as an addition, little adjunct support, not like total foundation for magnesium. Magnesium citrate is a reasonable, well-absorbed option, but it has natural laxative effect. Which brings me to magnesium oxide. This one is cheap, it's poorly absorbed. Your body only takes up a small fraction of it. Most of what you swallow stays in your gut and pulls water in with it. When you pull water into your gut with the magnesium, guess what happens? The downside is to move things out of the body. It's built for that job. Okay, it's exactly built for the constipation piece. But here's the thing about constipation. If that's your main concern, magnesium oxide or citrate are often more effective than glycinate, not despite being poorly absorbed, but because of it. The magnesium that doesn't get absorbed stays in the colon, and it draws water in and just helps things move out. So the question I ask every patient isn't which magnesium is the best, it's what job do I need that magnesium to do for you? Sleep and anxiety, glycinate. Daytime energy and muscle soreness, think malate. Cognitive support, think threonate, usually alongside another form since it's a support product. And for constipation, use citrate or oxide. Don't buy the bottle with the prettiest label. Buy the form that matches the job. Let's talk about what's actually happening on the inside, because I think when you understand the mechanism, the why clicks into place. So magnesium is often called nature's relaxation mineral, and that's not just marketing phrase. It works directly on your nervous system in a few different ways. And I want to walk through this a little bit more carefully because it's interesting it's just interesting when most people realize this. So the main mechanism is magnesium binding to GABA receptors. GABA being your brain's primary calm down signal. Okay, when magnesium is on board, that calming signal comes from really loud, really clear, and it helps support that calming effect. When magnesium is low, GABA signaling gets blunted, and your nervous system tends to run a little too hot even when you're lying in bed trying to sleep. At the same time, magnesium acts as a natural brake on different receptors called NMDA receptors, which otherwise keeps your neurons more excitable. On state. So if you've got magnesium doing two different jobs at once, amplifying the calm down signal and quieting the stay alert signal, that's a really, really great match. So magnesium also helps regulate your HPA axis. This is the system that controls your cortisol output. So cortisol can taper off in the evening the way it's supposed to. That's your excitatory neurotransmitters and hormones. Instead of staying elevated and keeping your mind wired past bedtime. So this is really helpful to help support brain support. Now, here's the piece people ask me about the most, and it's about melatonin. And I want to be precise about this because it's often described really inaccurately. Magnesium is not a raw ingredient in melatonin. It doesn't get built into the molecule. What magnesium actually does is act as a cofactor for the enzyme that converts serotonin into melatonin. It's involved in that final conversion step. So think of it like an assembly line. Serotonin is the raw material coming down the belt. There's a station at the very end of the line whose only job is to take serotonin and convert it into melatonin. Magnesium is the worker standing at the station running the machine that makes the conversion happen. So without enough magnesium on shift, serotonin can pile up, and at that last station, and less of it actually is getting converted into melatonin on time. And you add magnesium back in, and that last step runs smoothly again. Think of it like a factory, okay? So the honest picture is this. The biggest reason magnesium helps you sleep is direct action on GABA, NMDA, and cortisol. And that's the main event. Melatonin support is real, but it's the supporting piece, working quietly upstream from the hormone that actually signals that it's nighttime in your brain. So at the muscular level, magnesium and calcium work as a pair. Calcium tells a muscle to contract. Magnesium tells it to release. If you've ever had a middle of the night calf cramp, or you carry chronic tension in your shoulders and jaw, that's often a magnesium-calcium imbalance playing out in real time. And as for digestion, as I mentioned, certain forms pull water into the colon and support motility, which is why magnesium is one of the most reliable, gentlest tools that I have for chronic constipation. It does a lot of great work. Anxiety, muscle tension, sleep, digestion, on paper, those look like 4 unrelated symptoms, but in the body, guess what? They're often the same root system asking for the same mineral. Now, let's get back to Allie, because this is one piece that actually solved her puzzle. There's a gene called COMT, or COMT, short for catechol methyltransferase. I know, it's a mouthful, but here's what it actually does. COMT is the enzyme responsible for clearing out a group of compounds called catecholamines. That's dopamine, epinephrine, norepinephrine, your body's natural go chemicals. It's the on, it's the gas pedal. It's the same enzyme system that clears caffeine's downstream effects on your nervous system. And here's the detail almost nobody tells women. That exact enzyme is also responsible for clearing certain estrogen metabolites out of the body. One enzyme, 2 jobs, clearing your stress chemistry and clearing your estrogens. Some people run what's called a fast COMT or a fast COMT. They clear those compounds very quickly and they need more stimulation to actually feel alert. Others run really slow and the coffee that used to feel fine suddenly feels like too much. It's staying in your system too long. An estrogen that used to clear efficiently starts to feel like it's lingering a little bit longer than it should, which can show up as heavier, less predictable cycles. But here's the connection I really want you to hear. COMT cannot do its job without magnesium. Magnesium is required. It's a cofactor for this enzyme to actually function. Without enough of it, even someone with genetically fast clearance starts to lose efficiency. And the 2 biggest depleters of magnesium in a typical week, guess it. Guess what it is? Caffeine and chronic stress. The very inputs that COMT is trying to help you clear. It's a bit of a trap. The coffee that's draining your magnesium is also the exact thing your magnesium-dependent enzyme is supposed to be clearing. For Allie, this reframed everything. Her jitters after coffee wasn't a sign she needed to quit caffeine forever, but maybe back down. It was a sign that her clearance system was running low on the mineral that she needed to keep it up. We started her on magnesium glycinate in the evening for sleep and nervous system support, and we kept the coffee because she just didn't want to depart with it. But we supported it a little bit more. So within about 3 weeks, she told me like the 2 a.m. wake-ups mostly stopped. Her heart didn't race after her morning coffee anymore. And 2 cycles later, her periods had started to regulate better. The same coffee, the same stress, different mineral status. And that's the whole story. So I want to touch on one more mechanism briefly because it surprises people every time. Magnesium plays a direct role in how your cells respond to insulin. It's required for insulin to properly bind to its receptor and let glucose into your cells. We're talking about blood sugar regulation here. When magnesium runs low, that signaling becomes less efficient, which means your body has to produce more insulin to do the same job, and blood sugar regulation becomes a little bit harder across the board. I'm not telling you magnesium replaces a thoughtful approach to blood sugar, but if you're already working on nutrition, movement, and sleep, and your numbers still aren't quite where they want them to be, magnesium status isn't too shabby of a place to look at. So take a look at it. It's a quiet variable that's very easy to overlook. And here's what I need to give you, an important information, because most standard lab work on magnesium is genuine. Here's where I need to give you an important caveat, because most standard lab work on magnesium is genuinely confusing. When your doctor orders a basic magnesium test, it's almost always serum or extracellular magnesium, the magnesium that's outside of your cells, circulating around. And here's the problem with that number. Only about 1% of the magnesium in your entire body lives in your bloodstream. The other 99% is inside your cells and in your bones. Your body works very hard to keep that 1% looking normal, even when your actual stores are running low. And it will pull magnesium out of your muscles and your bones to keep your blood level stable, which means you can genuinely significantly be depleted and still have a completely normal serum magnesium on paper. And this is why I don't rely on serum magnesium alone. I look at red blood cell magnesium, or RBC magnesium. Red blood cell magnesium, this test measures magnesium inside your red blood cells, which gives much better window to your actual intracellular status over the past few months, since red blood cells live for about 120 days, like 3 months. Okay, so if you've ever been told your magnesium is normal, but you still have the tight shoulders, restless sleep, constipation, caffeine sensitivity, stress, that normal number may simply be measuring the wrong pool. So ask about red blood cell magnesium specifically. It's a different test, and for most of my patients, it tells a very different story. Now, I don't want you to think the only way to support your magnesium is another bottle on the counter. There are some genuinely enjoyable ways to bring it in more effectively. So mineral water is one of my favorites, and most people have no idea that the magnesium content varies widely by brand. Gerolsteiner is one of the highest at over 100 milligrams of magnesium per liter. San Pellegrino has some, but noticeably less, around 50 milligrams per liter. Fiji water, which is easiest to find almost anywhere, is on the lower end, around 15. So 100 to 50 to 15. It's a nice everyday drink, but if you're specifically shopping around for magnesium content in a mineral water, that German brand, Gerolsteiner, which you can find at Trader Joe's, is going to do far more work for you per bottle. So food-wise, pumpkin seeds, leafy greens, dark chocolate, and avocado are some of the most richest sources of magnesium. And here's what I want you to walk away with. Okay, magnesium isn't just the sleep mineral or the constipation fix. It's a foundational cofactor woven through your nervous system, your muscles, your digestion, your blood sugar regulation, and through COMT, your stress chemistry, your hormone clearance, all at once. The form matters. Glycinate for sleep and anxiety, malate for energy and muscle soreness, threonate for cognitive support, citrate or oxide for constipation. Match the form to the job. The testing matters. A normal serum magnesium doesn't rule out a real deficiency if you want the real picture. Ask about red blood cell magnesium. And you don't have to get all of it from a capsule. Get a glass of water. Go get some mineral water. A glass of the right type of the water or a handful of pumpkin seeds can all move the needle a little bit. So thanks for spending this time with me today. Until next time, I'm Dr. Emily Wheeler. And remember, your body is talking. Let's keep listening. If this episode connected some dots for you, the supplement audit, part of my 3-part free podcast series, is a great next step for looking at your own cabinet with fresh eyes. See ya.